Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Ted Lasso, Season 2, Episode 12, the last available episode, Inverting the Pyramid of Success. In this episode, we've got some good news, and we've got some other good news, and then we've got some bad news, and then we've got some really bad news, and this was a real mixed up feelings of an episode. Also, I was very, very wrong, Sam. Don't listen to my advice. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
Well, let's just talk about Edwin de Khufu right off the top of the show, please.
So I'm going to just let you get all your thoughts and all your feelings out for the season, for the episode. I am here to just let you bounce off of me. So
Okay.
I just want to say really quickly about Edwin. I loved every bit of our conversation last week.
I stand by everything I said. I will say that.
I loved that the heel turn he did was so spectacular.
Yep.
You know, it just like great comedic timing, and that it was shitty, but it wasn't shitty in the way all of these people were thinking he was going to be shitty. You know? And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, lay it on me.
His heel turn was giving very much, I don't want to go on a date with you anyway, you fat bitch, you cunt whore. You probably make me pay for dinner and then not suck my dick. Who gives a shit? It was that, like, on 11. It was that, but if dudes did that in person kind of thing, which I'm sure they do, but you know, it's just always a lot more extreme in the messengers.
Yeah. I choose to believe the show leaned into that and made it so great because it's actually up two men, but I feel like they were like, be like a guy when he can't get a number.
It's so incredibly over the top that there's a part of me that was like, this doesn't feel like this show. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much this works. And then I'm like, but he really went for it, though. And he, really like, shit on a mannequin in the hallway. I don't know. I feel like maybe it came back around and started working for me again. Strangled the mannequin to death and then crouched over it and mimed shitting on it and really thought that was him sending a message instead of confirming to Sam everything that he already was like kind of worried about. Maybe this is the wrong choice. And that's the thing that guys don't get, is that they like throw all these insults at women like, you don't know what you're missing out on. And it's like, well, now I do. And thank God I'm missing out on it.
I love Sam's face as he's having this meltdown.
Sam is so much chiller than I would be. I would have been clowning this guy so hard. Sam just sort of stands there and lets it happen with this mild, bemused sort of expression. And as it escalates, is more like fascinated than anything.
Right.
And I feel like I would have just been like, wait, is this a bit? Are you really doing this? Like,
Stacey in the chat said the same thing. I thought he was kidding at first. It's so over the top that I was like, this is wait, is he for real?
I will buy your childhood home and then I will burn it down. Sir. All right.
It's so wonderful because it is, you know, I just like that it is like they give us Edwin and he's going to be like this, what do you call it? Like the socially conscious billionaire, right? You know,
I should have fucking known that nobody who like grew up a billionaire was gonna be capable of being a fucking human being in any real way.
Exactly. And I don't know if this show is really doing that, but I choose to believe the show is doing that.
He's like, I'll be a great guy as long as you give me everything I want, like I have always ever had in my life.
Then we'll have no problems.
Mm-hmm.
I'll run Twitter fantastically. You just wait and see.
And what I love about this is how he's like, this is disrespectful because you wasted my time. I'm like, Sam never asked you to come here, sir. You floated on down in your goddamn helicopter.
Yep. And
like,
you gave him the time frame.
Right, exactly. Like, you were in control of literally every step of this. So to insinuate he wasted your time instead of you wasting your own goddamn time is also really something. And just... I just keep thinking about things that he said and just the Yoruba trash. And I'm like, ooh, I don't really like know the context of that, but that really sounded out of pocket. You know, like
it is. It's like, that is I don't want to get into like, cause I don't want to sound like an idiot and an asshole and be my ignorant show, but that is
every country's got their places that they are just like, well, if you're from here,
it's not a where you're. Well, it might be like regional, but I think it's more of like I don't know if tribe is the right word, but it's like an ethnic group, like Nigerians or like.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind of weird thing. So it's a very specific insult to like a Nigerian person.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole like, and I was like really enjoying the way that he was going out of his way to bring a sense of like how much he wanted to emphasize African culture in everything that he was talking about with Sam. And so buying things out and having the restaurant and the artwork and everything, I was like, he's just showing that he's really committed to this sort of like vision that he has. But now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, he was kind of love bombing him like abusers do when they want to just sweep a woman off her feet and then isolate her somewhere completely other so that they can like hold that over their head and do whatever they want. And the fact that he literally wanted to take Sam into a whole other country, I'm like, ooh, what could he have done once he had Sam in his clutches? Like, he could have really made life miserable for this guy if he got him on a contract, you know?
Well, he definitely showed himself to be somebody that you don't want to have. You don't want them to have any power over you.
Exactly.
You know? But yeah, it was a shock and awe campaign. He really was like sweeping Sam off his feet. But yes, that whole bit in the hallway is just, it's so great.
Oh, God. And then his fucking Franklin, is that his name? The professional handshaker? My God,
his own
he
like
does the fucking
Farnsworth Bentley or whatever Puffy's guys. God. Remember when Puffy was walking around with a guy? Do you remember those days?
Puffy had a dude that did this?
You don't Farnsworth
No.
Bentley. Puffy this guy got his own reality show. Puffy for a little while, back when he was still Puffy. I don't even think he was P. Diddy yet. He had like a manservant that would like hold an umbrella for him, and the guy dressed like really, really nice, like always with like a bow tie. His gear was like fresh and like kind of like British influence, you know, very. I guess his name was Farnsworth Bentley or something.
That's not a real name. That's not. I'm looking this up immediately. Continue.
I can't believe you don't remember. And he was like his valet, his personal valet. He was in the videos. He went with
oh my God,
all public appearances. And then he ended up having a reality show on VH1 where it was like, remember Charm School? Oh God, I might be dating myself. So after Flavor of Love and like what are all those like weird bachelorette celebrity dating shows VH1 did, then they took all of those girls who were like reality TV girls, you know, were fighting and were throwing drinks in each other's face and all that shit. And they put them through this thing called Charm School to try to like class them up. And then Farnsworth Bentley had a like sort of show like that as well, reality contestant show, where he had to like teach people how to like behave in society, you know.
Okay, so Farnsworth. first of all. I kept thinking you were saying Farnsworth.
I thought that shit was Farnsworth. Is it
Fonz,
Farnsworth?
Fonz Worth Bentley, spelled
That's
like the car
worse.
brand. His real name is Derek Watkins.
Of course
Which
it is.
honestly is really British sounding, and I feel like he could have gotten away with being
That's
called
funny.
Watkins. Like, that's a very butlery name. I feel like that would have been fine, but you know, whatever. And yeah, he's been in a bunch of different stuff, and then authored an etiquette book called "Advance Your Swagger: How to Use Manners, Confidence, and Style to Get Ahead." He hosted one of the after parties following the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2009.
I mean, he was really like, he made up, this was like a whole career for him.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time to be alive, y'all.
He was the barber in Honey. Oh my God, that was such a bad movie.
I saw that shit in the
Amazing.
theaters with two girls, and I talk shit the whole time, and as I can do sometimes, you know, it's be unpleasant. But they
Did they like
me
it?
to see that shit. Yeah, they both thought it was okay. One thought it was really good, and they dragged me all the way to like the posh side of town because one of the girls was super bougie and would only go to the theater in the rich neighborhood. So it was
Nice.
like 45 minutes away from my house to go see this
see
fucking piece of
Honey.
shit movie, Honey. Yes.
My,
Yeah, to
I mean, like,
stop
it's
at
one
her-
thing if you're like, oh, we got to go to a theater that's got 3D or something, but like, come on, it's Honey.
We had to
Stop it.
stop by her house with her weird ass drug dealer boyfriend who hated everybody and was real ignorant to us. That was awkward. We missed dinner, and then I went. To see
No,
Honey. Yeah, it
you
was
missed
bad.
dinner. Look at
Missed
what I
fucking dinner.
trust me to be real mad about that part. The drug dealer, whatever. I can't believe you missed dinner. That is really not okay. There's some YouTuber, and I can't remember her name, but she's really well known, and she does like a makeup tutorials, but she'll do them at the same time as like reviewing a movie that's playing, and it's usually an old movie, and she'll do her makeup in the style of like the era the movie is set in. And
Oh,
she
that's
did a
fun.
Honey episode recently
Oh,
and inserted herself into different scenes with like green screen. And my God, I had forgot how bad that movie is. And she inserts herself into some scenes and just is so fantastic at just being like, what if we did this? And I'm like, how are you so good at all of the, like, so I'm going to find out who that is, and I'm going to share it in the Discord because
Yeah,
she
do that.
deserves some views.
Mm.
And I had not remembered. Now that I'm older, I'm much better at spotting bad dancing. When I was younger, if you just pulled some moves, I would be impressed, like no matter what, you know, just like
you think that when you watch Bring It On and you see the white girl,
exactly.
you're like,
And I would have been like,
there.
oh, wow, you know, and now I watch it and I'm like, oh God, sweetie,
Like that Save the Dance when she goes
Save
to
the Last Dance.
when she
No.
goes to the audition at the end.
With the fucking like, I'm going to combine modern ballet and hip hop, and I really think I'm fucking doing something, and it's just a mess, honey.
With that
It's a mess.
chair.
Ugh.
Anyway,
Did you see that thing that Kinea shared the other day where it was the I don't remember if it was the Raiders. There was some like band, it was like a marching band style like drumline kind of thing, and they had the cheerleaders who were like freestyle dancing in front of it. They were all in a circle, and then one would go in the center and freestyle dance. And this girl was so offbeat, and she was so not like feeling the right vibe for this music at all. And it was so long. Like she was dancing for like 4 minutes, and everybody in the comments was just clowning her because it was clearly like she thought she was really doing something, and all of her, like the other cheerleaders were like, go, go, go behind her, like cheering her on, and she was just not doing anything.
Yeah, so
And
you
then
gotta hype your team person up though.
you have to. And then I was just watching this like, oh my God, that's hilarious. And then like 2 hours later, that post popped up in my feed again, and it just said content no longer available.
Oh no.
That shit was posted from like an official page. So I think they just got so many negative comments and laugh reacts that they were just like, never mind. And they just took it down. And I was kind of like, oh no.
Now I can't see. I was gonna go right and look for it, but I guess
Yeah.
it's gone now.
I bet somebody like recorded their phone with it, and it's somewhere out there. I'll try and find it, but it's very embarrassing. All right. So we've got Akufu out of the way. All right, let's talk about the vibe on the news with Ted. So this episode begins pretty much with Ted's receiving some supportive texts from Rebecca, from his ex-wife. He has to ask his ex-wife, like, what were you doing last night, huh? Why are you up so late? Yeah. And she doesn't answer, and he very quickly apologizes and says, none of my beeswax, which I appreciated.
Yeah, same.
And he goes down to meet Beard as usual, and he passes a florist, I think, who's like, are you okay? Yeah. And he says, yeah. And she says, are you sure about that? And I was like, bitch, what is it you're trying to say?
Oh, you didn't think
what are you doing? No, that was some shit. There was a tone and a look and an eyebrow raise.
Are you sure? Mm-hmm. It felt a little shady.
Very shady, in my opinion. And then he has a couple of people who walk by him and give him a look, and they don't really acknowledge him, but they turn and look at him after they walk by, like they are definitely talking about him.
Over the shoulder stare at him.
I always wonder about people who do that. Like, do you think you're being subtle? Or I guess you just don't care. I don't know.
I think sometimes there's a weird thing where people actually forget that you can see them looking at you. It's like they don't even think you're real.
NPCs,
and you're just like they think they're staring at you, but you don't notice. I can see you.
And then we have the guy who calls him wanker.
Yeah,
come up and say, if my father or grandfather,
if my father had a panic attack at Normandy, we'd all be speaking German right now.
It's just such a weird thing because y'all, they probably were having panic attacks, baby. Mm-hmm. I just kept wanting to bring this up. They were though, and then they had acute PTSD when they came home and stuff. Y'all, they're just people that just act like mental health things are new. They just keep acting like this is just an unheard of thing that was recently invented, and now people have them because we made it up. That's not how any of this works. This is chemical reactions in the brain. We are figuring it out because we couldn't see brain patterns. We didn't understand anything. We still don't fucking understand most things.
We have been well aware of the trauma of PTSD for a long time. Mm-hmm. George Carlin had a funny but true bit about it ages and ages ago, but it just it changed names. They used to, he's shell
shocked. Yep.
That
was what I grew up hearing.
And then it changed to this, and then it changed, whatever, and then then we got sort of a more clinical the PTSD. But shell shock was a clinical term at the time. That was what you would be diagnosed with, a legit diagnosis. I love that this old man who's always giving Ted a fucking problem, after he yells at him about Normandy, he comes back and it's just
just do the work, you'll be all right.
Do the work.
And I appreciate that, and I see it as supportive, but there's also a vibe of just just ignore that. There's, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's what he meant, but because everybody just is so bad at talking about this, it just comes across a lot of the time. It's just well, I know you have this thing, but what if you just didn't have it?
Yeah. What if you just don't think about the thing that you have that's a problem?
Yeah.
That's the thing too about not just mental health, but most of our shit. A lot of times the answer is really simple, and we resent how simple the answer is.
Yeah.
We think, it's a cliche. That's whenever I'm struggling with depression, which is almost always, people are like, oh, you should exercise. It'll make you feel better. And I know it does. It does improve your mood. I have no interest in it. And whenever anybody mentions it to me as a possible way to mitigate my mood, I get super irritated.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's true though.
Yeah, I'm over here just like, man, it's really weird how I don't feel good today. And then I look at how much, like, especially with the holidays, I'm eating like 3 times the amount of sugar I normally consume, and I have not hydrated one bit, and I'm peeing like brown. And I'm like, God, I feel weird and bad. Why do I feel bad? My body is like, bitch, you know why. But God forbid anybody is like, well, you could have a salad and some water. I would bite your fucking head off. Don't do it. So anyway, he goes off with Beard, who pretends to not know what's going on, even though he definitely does.
Yeah.
And
I want to just give a quick mention to all the fantastic headlines on the newspapers that we see throughout this sort of morning.
This is Keely's fucking, if she were
right,
going to be mean-spirited.
One is like, is Ted dead in the head or something? And then one is like, panic at the lasso, which I love that sort of panic joke never ends. Like, it's just everywhere throughout popular culture. And so I was really tickled to see it here again. And I always forget that there's a band called Panic at the Disco, because that's sort of like after my time of being a cool person about music.
Gotcha.
So I know they're pretty big, but I don't know anything about them. But I think of Panic at the Disco as being a song.
Gotcha.
And then all the little derivatives that come after it. So I was like, oh, that's cute. Look at that.
That's cute, she said about the really mean-spirited mental health article.
Listen, I have been like knee deep in all of this Harry and Meghan stuff.
Oh my God.
And I watched the documentary on Netflix. I recommend it. Granted, it is not an objective,
nothing is going to be objective. Yeah.
This is their story told the way they wanted it to be told. But it is fascinating and deeply, deeply disturbing. And it came and supported every idea I had, but I didn't have any proof,
Yep.
And then it just validated everything. And then he's on the interview circuit now for his book, and he is just fucking going scorched earth. And
He really is.
You know what? I am really not it's the royal family. I'm not going to really stand for them. I'm not going to these people are uber privileged in ways I could never wrap my head around.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am here for it, y'all.
Yep.
I am so here for it.
Yep.
I really, really am. And it has just been the way he talks about the press. So this, when Ted comes out of his door, there's paparazzi outside his door snapping pics, which is not something that we've really seen, with the exception of the beginning of the first season when Rebecca had set him up. So yeah.
So it turns out, interestingly, that Beard knows Nate told.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not even a question. He's just knows. And it makes sense because he's been witness to Nate's worst moments a couple times. But it's interesting because he isn't aware that Trent told Ted who his source was.
Mm-hmm.
And so just also assumes that Ted would assume. And considering that Ted hasn't seen a lot of Nate's worst moments, and it looks like Beard hasn't talked to Ted about them, I found it kind of surprising that he assumes Ted would assume. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. Beard is giving Ted not the benefit of the doubt. He's giving him credit for being able to come to a conclusion that doesn't really make sense for us as the viewer.
Yeah. And it's fine. I'm not it feels like a shortcut where the show is just going to be Beard knows, we know why Beard would figure it out. We know Ted knows. So we're just going to jump to the part where they kind of discuss what to do. Yeah. But it did kind of feel weird to me since we're aware that Ted hasn't seen some of the outbursts that he's had.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a weird moment because it's almost as if this moment is referencing some shit that happened off screen that we didn't see. Like Beard is approaching Ted, like you said, with this sort of understanding that Ted is as aware of Nate's weirdness as Beard has been, even though we haven't seen Ted be aware of any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it lends, like, either we're supposed to believe Beard and Ted had a conversation off page that we didn't see that would make sense for why Beard thinks that Ted would come to this conclusion, or we're supposed to believe that Beard knows Ted so well that even without Ted's acknowledgement of Nate's bad behavior through this entire season, on some level, Ted is aware that Nate is a problem.
Right.
Either way, I don't think that particular bit worked, and I think it's easier if you just sort of like gloss over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agree. And he is trying to get Ted to confront Nate, and Ted doesn't want to do it.
He does not.
And it was a really interesting choice to me to have, because like Beard is essentially saying, you're talking about what to do in terms of like the best way to handle it for somebody else, but you're freaking out. Why don't you just have the conversation because you need to have it?
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do that. He thinks like he'll come to me, and Beard's like, he's not going to. And Ted doesn't really argue that. He really seems to be like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, so what is the plan, sir? Like, this really kind of shores up Nate's assertion that he's ignoring him. He just betrayed you utterly, and you're still not going to like sit down and have a conversation. It's not until like Nate kind of throws a fit and walks into the other room that he finally confronts him about why he's mad, but he doesn't even tell him, I know you were the one who went to the press.
Nope.
It's not even about that. It's just like a whole other separate conversation. And I don't know what's going on with this. Like the fact that he is so like afraid is the feeling that I get. And I'm like, exactly why are you, what exactly is it you're afraid of? Because whatever you are worried about, whatever effect you're worried about having, he has done something terrible already and has not confessed to you. And I feel like we are at worst case scenario, Ted. What more are you going to wait for before you just confront him, or he does what he winds up doing, which is fucks off? And I just don't understand his handling of this at all. It's like, I keep thinking about the context of seeing Nate as like a son, you know, and the weird sort of like, Ted has his own abandonment issues, and he clearly is very concerned about like being bright and sunny for other people's sake a lot of the time. And yet with Nate, there's this disconnect there. And I don't know what's going on. Like, is it that you're aware you're not home to parent your son and you don't want to parent another guy because you feel like this isn't your job? Like, does he feel guilty for playing a role in Nate's life that he feels like he should be playing for his own son and he's not able to?
I think that is part of it, or close to it. I think even though the show didn't give it to us like, on page, but I think that earlier in this season, there's a moment where Ted realizes how he is failing, or is afraid that he's failing Nate in some way. And for whatever reason, because the show doesn't really give it to us, but Ted makes a decision not to like confront it. And that denial of it is what ends up spiraling into his his abandonment issues, his guilt.
It's
about
weird. We can
abandoning
say,
him.
look, all things can be valid and weird. It's fine.
It still be weird,
Mhm.
and they kind of like morph into like this, like his feelings about leaving his son, how he's failing Nate, that he is. I think it's just fear. I think because Ted is an incredibly empathetic person. He is, that's like his superpower, right? Like he can feel how other people are feeling and communicate with them and connect with them, inspire them, and be a good coach and all that shit, right? So even though he's like oblivious to Nate all season, not really giving him any real attention, it doesn't make sense that Ted doesn't know something is fucking up.
Yeah.
Something is up with Nate, and he is making a choice not to confront it because of his own fears. And then by the time we get to this episode at the end of the season, so much is piled up that I think Ted feels really responsible and culpable, because he and he was going through his own shit too, right? He was with Dr. Sharon, he's got all the stuff going on, so he's like a little bit focused on himself, which is fair. You're allowed to like take care of yourself and get your own mental health shit together. But I think that Ted made a decision not to face what's going on with Nate out of his own fears. And
it's occurring to me something that I know that I am super guilty of. I am wondering if Ted sees some of himself in Nate. It's causing him to sort of back away, because like a lot of us, I think, get we feel revulsion for the traits in other people that we fear we have in ourselves. It's not even necessarily that we really have. It's a like they give off an energy that we are really worried we may also give off sometimes. And we want to distance ourselves from it in a way that is really like, first of all, ineffective because it has nothing to do with us, but also just lacking in empathy, considering since we fear it, we should understand where it probably comes from. But sometimes knowing where it comes from causes like it's like contempt. Yep. Because you can see what's happening with them.
And I think you're right.
I don't know. Maybe there's something because like, go ahead.
If you think about what Ted has been struggling with this whole season, which is like his own feelings with his father, and his father leaving him. And we don't really see any of the sessions once him and Dr. Sharon really get into the nitty gritty, but I guess we can make some assumptions. And then we know about Nate and his very fraught relationship with his own father, and how needy Nate is, and how desperate for validation Nate is. And even though we know Ted is an adult and he doesn't seem like he needs validation because he spends his whole life validating other people, it's not difficult to imagine that there probably really was a long period of Ted's life where he was seeking the validation of father figures to like stand in for his dad who's gone now. So I like your point about maybe something about Nate's energy was off-putting or triggering.
Yeah. And there's like the seeking validation, yes, but there's also so much resentment in Nate, so much anger in Nate. And Ted has only just recently begun to admit that he hates his dad for what he did. So I'm wondering if there's that as well. He has been carrying like anger and resentment towards his father that he just hasn't fucking faced. Yeah. And clearly a lot of what Nate is throwing at Ted's feet is really for his father. And he just doesn't want to have this confrontation with his dad. He'll do it with his boss,
That moment with Nate and Ted, how did that hit for you?
You mean like overall, like how it started, or
when he is in the locker room and he's basically crying? He's so angry at Ted,
right?
But, did like that work for you?
First of all, it was wild because you asked me what I thought Nate's reaction would be if he got called out. And I kind of went through like some things, and then I said, I don't know though. I could see feeling like Ted is a joke. And then he calls him a fucking joke. And I was like, ooh, I really didn't mean to like, I didn't want that, but I guess here we are. It did work for me. It was a weird, again, because the fact that Ted doesn't address what Nate did, it's such an odd thing because they're fighting about, really, they are fighting about the right thing because Nate did what he did because of this overall anger. But it's weird how it's being danced around still by Ted. And I'm like, you really don't have to do that, Ted. Nate is going to cop to it right here. If you brought it up, like he would. And he would double down, really, because it feels like he's sort of reached a point where he doesn't give a shit. But it felt very real to me. I thought it worked because the way that it starts, and I do want to mention this, the thing that sort of seems to set Nate off here, the first half of the game, they're doing his false nine and they're not operating correctly.
Working.
And at the half point, they have 2 goals. They're like down 2. And Nate is saying we should not keep up with this play because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
And then we're going to lose and you're all going to try to blame it on me and fuck that.
Yeah. Well, like even before he says this to Ted later, though, here he is insinuating if it fails, it's because the players don't know what they're doing, which obviously they were the ones fucking it up. So it's not like Nate is wrong about how it could work, but they aren't doing what they need to do. He's right about that. But instead of going to them and like being like, guys, what's going on? You know how to do this. What are you doing out there? He's just writing them all off and being like, they can't do it. So we have to change our strategy because they are ruining my idea. And so then Ted goes around and asks everybody what they think. And Roy is like, go talk to them. They're out there doing it. Talk to them. And they collectively agree they can do it. And we have the moment where Isaac goes up and puts his hand on the believe sign. And everybody else comes up and does it too. And then you see Nate's face. And he is disgusted at the fact that they are all like buying into this believe thing. He is disgusted
throughout all the way through this episode. There are so many shots of him rolling his eyes, huffing, puffing, not wanting to be
you'll
a part
be fools
of
not to. As he like struts past. I've watched this twice and I wanted to literally just fucking pants him both times. Just wedgie, atomic, straight up.
He is being like such an insufferable little fucking prick throughout this whole episode. It is really like, I mean, kudos to Nick Mohammed for this performance because when you think about when we first met Nate and how like adorable and lovable he was, and how excited he was to just be a part of things, to where this character is now, it is really quite a turn. Yeah. But there are so many shots of him just, like blowing air out his nose and snorting and guffawing and rolling his eyes like through the whole episode. And at this moment when they have this, like, we're all like in the audience, like, yes, believe. We love the believe sign. We all have it hanging up in our offices and we all printed, shit off Facebook and we ordered mugs. We have t-shirts, this is our thing. And then here's Nate, like, giving the middle finger to our thing,
it's like the fact that they are still backing Ted's concept. He finds insulting because he doesn't believe that Ted knows what he's doing. So they're all buying into this like vibes instead of the actual skill. And he finds that really frustrating, which again, I said last episode, I get that to a point. to a point. Like, I understand just being like, well, facts don't matter if you just believe. That's not real. Stop. But like, it's not just that, Nate. You suggested the false 9 because you knew it could work, and they are copying to the fact that they didn't operate well, but that they can. They're acknowledging that what you suggested could work, and that they can make it work. And he's not hearing that.
It doesn't make him feel any better.
No.
He doesn't get any satisfaction from that whatsoever.
Nope.
So the book that the episode is titled after is the same book that Beard is reading throughout the episode, The Inverting the Pyramid of Success.
Right.
Which is just like a soccer book. It's a book about plays and how to be successful, right? And I think that, like, the fact that you see Beard is the one throughout the whole series who is always educating himself about the game. We always see him reading things about the game, learning more and more and more, which is why they have those weird moments where Nate is trying to connect with Beard in a way to be like, look at Ted, this asshole. He doesn't know anything about the game,
Yep.
And when he tells Ted, you don't belong here, but I do.
Mm-hmm. Again, like, I get what he means. I get where he's coming from in a very, like, technically sort of way. But, like, it's just about so much more than that. And he doesn't want it to be about more than that, even though he wants from Ted for it to be about more than that. Like, you're here to do a job that you're doing, and he's taking your ideas, and he gave you credit on camera, so you got interviewed, sir. I don't know why you think he's going to take the credit for this if it works. He would definitely tell them you came up with this.
Exactly. Ted has always been more than willing to give credit to whomever.
So he's got this, like, this thing where he's like, I'm doing the job, and all I'm getting is that I'm doing the job.
It's not enough.
Allegedly, that's what you want, sir, is for it to just be about the thing it's about. And yet, here you are being real fucking needy about another thing, and then getting mad because some folks are feeling it, and you're not feeling it. You built a wall around yourself, sir. It can't get in. What do you want? Like, you want it to be all about you all the time. You were the center of attention when you got promoted, and you needed that high forever. And I get it, Nate. I fucking do. I really fucking get it. I am so this way also. But you got to get over this, man. You have got to move past it, because it's just not going to be about you all the time.
It can't be.
It can't
be. And if that's your expectation, you'll never, ever be happy.
No. And frankly, there comes an age where you realize if it were about you all the time, how embarrassing would that be? You think you want it about you all the time until you start growing and looking back at some times where it had been about you and it didn't go super well. And, like, as somebody who has a show where I'm the primary speaker and have been doing this 10 years, it's been about me a lot, and I regret some of that. Not always awesome. Yeah. And Nate, you're not acting in a way here where you want this to be documented. I promise you that. If people saw this,
in the annals,
ooh, baby, like,
yeah. So we might as well just, I guess, wrap Nate up since we're talking about him. So he has this big blow up with Ted. Tells Ted that you abandoned me like you abandoned your son, which was fucking dirty.
Ooh, that was really not cool.
Low fucking blow, right?
It's him again, just like, he's yelling at his dad. Like, Ted, he's right about certain things, but, like, he's yelling at his dad. Let's be real here. Yeah. Ugh, it's ugly. It's ugly.
You made me feel like I was the most important person in the room, and then you just disappeared. I tried to get your attention over and over and over again. The more I tried, the less you saw me. They win the game. They tie the game. They don't win, right? They tie.
Yes.
Right?
With Danny, which is enough.
And gets them back in the Premier League, so it's a big success. he rips the believe sign in half, leaves the locker room, and we don't see him again to the very end of the episode, right?
Right.
In his new digs.
Which honestly, I was like, that makes sense. I kind of like, I wasn't sure. After he ripped up the believe sign, I was like, all right, well, that feels like that's him quitting, but honestly, I can't tell what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we see this like drill sergeant type practice that has a very like,
different feel, right? It's
the whole energy of it is very, he is so distant. He's standing off to the totally other side of the field. And you get the feeling that if he could be on like a dais looking down at them, he would definitely choose to do that. And
what are those things in Star Wars? You know how whenever they go to like the Galactic Congress and they're all in those weird pods?
I believe you mean the Galactic Senate, ma'am.
The Senate. I'm sorry, I called it the Congress. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Those things. That's what.
And they just float out into the middle. Yep. And we have Rupert like walk up and whisper something to him, and I really want to know what he said right then. I am assuming now that Rupert said something like, if you ever want to be the boss so that you actually get credit, let me know.
Seems about that tracks. That's, we know he said something to him at the funeral. We find out in this episode from Rebecca that the reason Rupert has given his shares back to her turns out to be because he needed to free himself up so that he could buy West Ham, which is another big team.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in direct competition with Richmond.
West Ham is one of my favorite team names, only because there is an IT Crowd episode, which I know the creator of that show is absolute trash, and I haven't watched it since finding that out.
Yeah,
but
that's that Lanham,
whatever.
Lanham?
Who cares? Fuck them.
You're right. Fuck them. They deserve a name. You're absolutely right.
But there was an episode where the two boys are trying to pretend they know about football because they want to be proper men. And there's like an app that gives you standard lines to just say whenever to make people think you know about football. And they go to a bar and they use these lines successfully and get into this like group of like tough men as friends. And then one of them's like, who's your favorite team? And they realize they have no idea of any team names. And he just looks over and the pub, somebody's like got ham on their plate, and he just says, West Ham? And the guy is like, are you serious? And then he lifts his sleeve and he has a West Ham logo like tattooed on his shoulder.
That's
and
really good.
they become like real good friends with them, and they're feeling like, all right, we've become proper men. And then it turns out these are bad men who are robbers.
Oh.
And they have like looped them in on this like robbery scheme that they weren't quite aware was actually happening.
See,
and they're being chased by the cops. It's very
Befriending
fun.
men always ends up exactly where you are. Don't make friends with men.
Don't make friends.
Don't make
men.
friends with men.
I might put that. Hold on. Let me put that into the postcard selection here. We've got. Don't make friends with men. So anyway, yeah, this moment where Nate freaks out too, it's wild. Again, Nate, but take a step back. You suggested the false 9, and the false 9 worked.
It worked.
And you are angry
You could have
about
been
it.
this could have been like your moment. You could be
Yes.
on the field, hugging, celebrating, high-fiving, but no.
He has just turned everything into it being about something else, and it's wild.
I love how the show ended up being so much about how men communicate, how they deal with their emotions, how they are incapable of dealing with their emotions in a lot of ways.
Sometimes. We get some progress from Roy here.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just really. I'm hard pressed to think of another show that's like a sort of short form comedy that really explores how men deal emotionally with each other, how they navigate their relationships, how they learn to deal with what they're feeling, and when they feel all weird and squiggly inside and can't make sense of things, and they get all like it's just been really, really fascinating. That
was perfect because I was thinking about Home Improvement, and just like it's a very different thing to be like, oh, we're gonna make it a joke about how men don't have feelings and can't deal with feelings, versus actually interrogating what's that about.
What
anyway,
is that,
guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
the fact that he just like stalks off the field there too, so we find out that Trent Krim Independent is now actually independent, and he told them that he shared who his source was.
Yep.
Which I really don't get the point. Like, he didn't have to write it then. If he knew he was just going to quit, why write it? Just quit.
Well, it
feels like just being like, I decided to give you one last fuck you before I quit. But he's like friendly with Ted. It feels like, I don't know, he just felt like some like obligation to let the public know. Why?
I don't know. I mean, it's that weird sort of, like he tells Ted, I had to write the story when it came to me because I'm a journalist. And that's what I do. Right? Which, I am. You don't want to be.
You just said, I'm looking for something deeper. I'm not a journalist anymore. Well, then just don't write it.
And I, you know what? I don't think this is going to sound shitty, but sometimes you don't get to that realization until you do the thing that you look back on and go, that was a line. That was it for me. That was
maybe.
It for me. Like as a journalist, like we've seen him throughout the series, he's always trying to get the scoop, trying to be fair, like not trying to sink anybody, but there to get the story. So I think it really does track with the Trent Krim that we've met so far, that Nate comes to him with the story and he's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to write this.
Yeah.
And then he writes it. He does his job. This is what he's been doing for however many years he's been doing it. He does it. And then he looks at it and goes, that's my job? Maybe. I
mean, okay, look, I'm going to say this.
For me.
Trent, what I would like is for you to write one last story about how the source who told you about Ted Lasso was the one who stalked off the field angrily.
Now because you gotta get him sued.
I am just very much here for Nate, like, getting a taste of what it is to really have people like have feelings about you, sir, because you're acting like everybody's against you and everybody has been nothing but supportive, and I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I haven't done any speculation for season 3 up until this very moment right now live. Nate working for Rupert, he has no fucking idea what he's in for. He has no idea.
Which way?
I think
in what sense?
I think that Nate fancies himself a like tough guy now. And I don't mean tough guy like Roy, like I'm going to beat people up, but I mean like I'm in charge. I'm a coach. You can't ruffle my feathers, whatever. But I think that with the relationship Nate has with his father, and then what Rupert will end up being, because Rupert is kind of like Edwin. It's going to sweep you off your feet. Oh my God. He's going to wine you and dine you. He's going to love bomb you.
He's not even quite like Edwin, because Edwin is just a spoiled brat.
No,
Rupert
but I mean,
is such a manipulator. He's going to spin Nate in circles.
That's what I mean. Like, Nate's going to be completely unprepared to deal with what a Rupert is. I mean, like, he might be sort of prepared because his father was so withholding and cold. But Rupert is not just those things. Rupert is actively manipulative and actively malicious and petty and spiteful.
Yep.
Whereas Nate's dad just seems sort of cold and distant and sort of indifferent, It's not going to be good for our boy Nate.
Chris in the chat is saying, I thought him and Edwin were teaming up at first. Look, we don't know they weren't. I don't think Edwin was, because he seems very contemptuous of white men. And I don't think that he would be out here making deals with Rupert. He would be like, I could buy you and your entire country. Go to hell.
I would love a moment with Edwin refusing to shake Rupert's hand, though.
That would be delightful.
I wouldn't have minded seeing that.
But
so,
I'm not gonna say that like Rupert didn't somehow figure out a way to plant an idea in somebody's head to have it get to Edwin. Like, who knows? He's the type to fucking start the ball rolling on a thing, you know, and in such a way that it could literally never be traced back to him. So yeah, I'm just really like, look, Nate, you got what you wanted. You're the boss, and you're the boss of a good team. Like, they've got a good rep. But I really, because you have been taking everything the wrong way, it is just looking at, like, fucking Kid bringing his tuxedo or his suit back and being like, here's the suit that Ted bought you.
It's my suit.
That's my suit.
Once he bought me, it became mine.
Literally, who gives a shit? What are you doing? He is going to be getting in nothing but weird, petty little fights with everybody all the time over nothing, to the point that nobody's going to want to talk to him about anything because they don't know how he's going to fly off the handle. And because he has no confidence really in himself as in a fundamental way, even though he knows the game. Anytime that people like second guess stuff, he's going to be a dick, and then he's going to go to bed and sit there wide awake wondering if they're right about everything, and then come in and completely change his mind about shit because he isn't consistent. He doesn't like back his ideas up. He was the one who wanted to quit the False Nine. He didn't believe in his own call.
Nope.
You
didn't
know,
believe in himself, but couldn't even admit that he didn't believe in himself and his plan. It's the players. The players aren't good enough to do it. You know, it's just I know I just said it, but I just have to say there's not a lot of TV shows I feel like are, unless they're like really like hour and a half long dramas that are like Oscar bait or whatever, that are exploring these types of interpersonal relationships between men. And how complicated it can be and how messy it can be. So many shows, books, movies, on and on and on with women's relationships, you know, all day long. It was really something to watch. Even if it's not always, you know, not all of it worked, but it was really interesting to see the focus be on relationships between men and have like the women in the show. The women are good. We're Gucci over here. We're good. We all have healthy relationships, solid friendships. We know how to support each other. Like,
it's the men who are messy. Yep. Yeah. So that wraps Nate, I feel like. So shall we begin on Keeley then?
Yeah, let's talk about our girl.
By extension, Roy. I'll start with Roy's just deal with Jamie, which is so well done. He comes in on the fucking warpath, and Jamie asks if he can speak first, to which Roy says, yeah, because you're going to need your teeth. And Jamie gives him a really excellent apology.
Excellent. It's
fully confesses what he did, takes responsibility for knowing it was wrong when he did it. Like,
explains where his headspace was, but doesn't use it as a shield to be like, this is why I can't hold me accountable, but makes it like relatable so that even because Roy was super freaked out about death too.
Yep.
And Roy was not on his best behavior that day either.
Yep.
So Jamie being like, I don't know, being around dead people, fuck my head up.
Yep. And then ends it with, I respect you. I respect Keeley. I respect your relationship. And I was just like, God damn, Jamie, did you like look up how to apologize? Like, there are people in PR who don't know how to do this. How did you do this so well? And Roy just stands there staring at him with all of this unvented fury, with nowhere to direct it, and just yells, fuck, and then storms out, and it's so good. And Jamie's just left standing there like, and then we have the poor Kid who was there.
Oh my God. He was like, I didn't want to be here, but it happened so fast, I didn't know where to go. And it's like several episodes ago, Keeley had coached Jamie to like take the wind out of Roy's sails. when he's angry. Just
You're
agree,
right. I didn't think about that, but you are so
and
right.
It didn't work. But this time, that's exactly what he did.
Yep.
It's so good.
So
And then, real quick about Nate, when Roy asked about the Diamond Dogs, that was so fucking great. He
God.
He couldn't even get the words out. He's like, maybe it will be. It hurt my feeling. He doesn't say my feeling.
He says feeling.
It hurt my feeling when it wouldn't let me.
Stupid.
They didn't use me in my pictures. But Nate confesses about kissing Keely.
I love Beard's eye roll. He really thought we were going to have the thing, and then it's not, and he's so mad. Beard is just really like kind of on all cylinders this episode.
So Nate is all offended because Roy isn't threatened by it.
Nope.
You know, yeah, Keely told me that you kissed her. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And that is, I guess, emasculating for Nate, which I guess maybe it would be. I'm
it's
not
like
a dude.
you
I
are
don't know.
such an utter threat or non-threat that I really don't care. But again, Nate, you're not looking at the whole picture, kid. Jamie is her ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on. What is the... You know there's a difference there. What are you talking about?
It's an absolute difference. But he just sees it as another example of how people don't take him seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't respect him.
And not only did he he's not in the position that Jamie had been in terms of their past relationship, but as soon as he kissed her, he immediately apologized and was clearly mortified. Jamie didn't have that energy at all. He says his thing and walks fucking confidently away. Like, there was no sense of, that was something that we can just both forget about. Come on. It's just so not the same thing. And he's choosing to take things a certain way. And it's all based on the fact that he's already got no confidence. So he has to see the worst message in it all. And
insecurity, fuck, dude.
Yep.
I mean, my own experience, it is like a fucking such an ugly thing. And we all have it, you know, in one way or another. And when it rears its head, it is like 9.5 times out of 10, it is not going to be the best part of you.
No,
it just isn't, and it sucks.
And when you get to be like a little bit, when you get some tools through therapy, or like I use this CBT workbook that Cam sent me a while back, you start to recognize when something is coming from that place. There's a feeling that comes with it, like a sort of sick anger that feels like hot in your pit of your stomach.
Yep.
It's like this it's like an old feeling. You recognize it because it's familiar from some of the worst moments in your life. And so when that feeling comes back, you're like, oh, okay, so this isn't even about the thing. Hold on. And you start to learn to like back away and be like, what's happening here? But he doesn't have those tools. He's not learning about this stuff, and he has no fucking frame of reference for any of what's happening around him. And it's awful to see all these people who are really just trying to be better and do better. And then we've got like two people who aren't. We've got Nate and we've got Beard, because Beard's just basically like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Poor Beard. He's like, me and Shane broke up. Oh, wait, we're back on.
We're back on again. All right, Beard, go ahead. Whatever. You seem to like it. It's fine.
I just want my boo to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I don't think this is the best, the best situation for him, I'm going to support him and stand by him because that's my man.
So yeah, Roy has that moment, and then later he on the field headbutts Jamie, but then hugs him immediately, and it's really great. Because there's a moment in the like locker room where he won't fist bump him.
Yeah, Jamie fist bump
I love that for him.
Can I tell y'all that it's been like 1.5 years since this first aired? I do that all the time at work. Like if I figure something out and there's no, I'm like, all right, boom.
I high five myself constantly. I have done that in front of people that do not know me very well.
Oh,
and
did
they
you really?
always have no idea how to react to it, which is kind of part of why I do it, to just be like, hey, get a little peek at me. Enjoy that. So, all right, Keely.
Keely and Rebecca, this episode.
She gets this email that, and it feels like it's very much in response to the article that she had just recently done.
I love Nate's. I'm sorry, Roy. I love his reactions to that article. I love it so much.
So she gets a proof of the whole shebang, the way it's going to go out. All the photos and the article. She doesn't actually read the article. I wanted her to read it. We're just looking at the photos, and I'm just like, but what is the substance? However, it doesn't matter. It looks like it's just going to be good. But they don't use any photos with Roy, which I think is the correct move.
Yeah, agreed.
Personally, I thought it was weird that they wanted Roy. And I was like, I guess he's a famous footballer and
yeah,
fine. But
they weren't sure that she could. I feel like they weren't sure she could carry it.
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Oh, she's got this super famous boyfriend. And then they got there and they were like, oh shit, no, she's all right.
Yeah, it's just like, if there were a male entrepreneur, I just feel like they're not going to ask him to bring his girlfriend, you know, like,
not.
So they don't use any of them, which kind of bums Roy out. But in the moment with Keely, he is only supportive and just is like, you look powerful. You look like a BILF, which is the best.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated him just like recognizing that he doesn't belong in this set. It's not about him.
I love when he's talking to the guys and he's talking about how it hurt his feelings that he's not in a picture. And then he even tells them, but you know what? It would have been weird if I was, because they didn't need me in it. So he has, so it's like a confirmation of like what he says to Keely was some real shit. It wasn't just him, you know, like buttering her up or like making her happy or whatever. Like it was real.
Yes. And it felt real, you know, and I think she sensed it was.
Yeah.
So then at the end of the episode, he presents her with tickets to, I can't even remember where. And it's a 6-week vacation that is like a dream.
I love these fucking people in Europe who are just like on holiday for weeks at a time. Like,
right.
No big fucking deal. I hate it here. I really hate it here.
My first reaction was, what are you doing, Roy? She just got her own PR firm, sir. This isn't even like a new job. She is the head of a firm.
Yeah.
And you want her to fuck off for 6 weeks?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That is like, it's just, I would call it thoughtless, except that's not Roy, so it feels wrong. And all I can think is he feels insecure about his place in her life and is trying to center their relationship here without really considering what's important to her. And I just, the idea of booking a 6-week vacation without consulting your partner to begin with is already insane, even if you just have a regular job.
Like, I'm low-key kind of like, that would be unacceptable. And also, like, can somebody please?
Oh, wait, don't get me wrong. But, like, you know what I'm saying. Even if you had the money to go and do it, if your husband just told you, I got this vacation set up for us to go away for a month and a half, and like he never asked you.
I didn't make any plans. Yeah.
So like already just for regular people, that's a bad idea. And then for her with the transition she's going through right now, it is almost sabotage. Like it felt so sus. And I know it isn't really consciously, but part of me was like, is it an unconscious attempt to sabotage? Because I don't know, man. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And like, almost like he's trying to see like put her on the spot and be like, what are you going to pick, me or your career? You know, like put her in this position. That's just really unfair, man. Like, what are you doing, Roy? Just genuinely.
You know,
And
what I love about this is that it feels like it's speaking to, even though sometimes dudes, I don't mean to like bash dudes on this episode, but like
fine.
We're doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They can mean really well. Their intentions can be pure, right?
Yep.
He has this great realization of how powerful she looks and how impressed he is and how much he's not needed in this shoot, in her career, all that shit. And then something in the back of his brain starts tickling, you know, and he's not aware of it. He doesn't want to think about it too much. But next thing you know, he's bought these tickets for this unreasonable 6-week vacation.
Yeah.
And in his mind, they're not related. And if we as watchers or as women or as partners in a relationship go, I think that shit's related, then we're crazy.
Right.
We're making mountains out of molehills, right?
Yep.
But no, I think there is something there. I don't think that Roy realizes what is happening.
Agree. Yeah.
But I think that there is definitely something there. And I
think Roy has the self-awareness to, if I were to say this to him, he'd be like, fuck, because he'd know I was right.
Like, I bristle at sabotage only because it feels so pointed, and I don't know if there's enough acknowledgement and recognition of what the motivation is to even call it sabotage. Because that feels like much more like pointed, like I'm doing a thing because I'm doing a thing. But overall, your point I agree with. There's something that didn't feel good inside.
Yeah,
a moment, a flitter, or something, right? And then his reaction was, "Oh, we should just go away for 6 weeks."
And like sabotage often takes the face of them not really meaning for you to not succeed. That's the thing about it when it comes from like family and friends. People will try and sabotage you, not because they don't want good things for you, but because they have their own insecurity. And it comes in all kinds of forms, but like one of the most common ones that people talk about when they're with someone for a long time in like a romantic relationship is if they're trying to like improve their health. They're starting to like improve their diet and they're exercising, and they will have a partner who's like actively kind of resentful. And I have gone through that a few times. And that's part of why I think, because I always placed such heavy weight, pun intended, on the importance of like my partner in my life to a point that I think is just unhealthy, that I would let them sway me into doing things that I didn't even really want and that I knew weren't good for me, because they were just very like with the sort of snide comments about food choices, about making it how, oh, well, you're never around anymore because you're just at the gym all the time, and making me feel guilty for taking that time for myself. And like, do I think that if I sat down and was like, do you not want me to be healthier? They would never have. That's not what they thought they were doing.
Right.
But there was a part of them that kind of was. And I think it came from, especially at one point, I was with someone who was definitely an alcoholic. And I was going to Overeaters Anonymous meetings. And he was getting real weird about it. And I look back and I'm like, oh, it's because some of the things that I was like talking about with him were raising real flags. And he didn't like looking at his own behavior like that. So he started discouraging me from going to meetings and insinuating that it was like a cult. And look, AA has its issues. They're not entirely wrong about it being a cult.
They are not. It is.
But it was clearly not about that with him. So I think sabotage is fair because it doesn't have to be intentional and mean-spirited and malicious. It's oftentimes not, I think, actually. But, and then the fact that when she says he should go, he immediately thinks that they are breaking up.
Yeah.
That's like, he has decided it's him or the career.
It's very black
she
and white
can't
thinking.
do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, why would you think that? And I'm like, that is a very good question. What's up, Roy? Why would you think that? I mean, you guys have been great. Yeah, you had the little thing with Jamie, but it doesn't feel to me like she entertained that for a moment. So, what's up? So, he's going to have to figure out some
a lot
things.
of this shit is circle. You know, it's funny. Like, we have all these characters that are so different, you know, with Roy and Ted and Nate. But ultimately, even Beard, there's so much insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's different for each character, but ultimately, when they are feeling insecure, when they are feeling like they don't have control of the situation, of the people around them, you know, whatever, then they sort of grasping and doing these, like, you know, these gestures, these grand things in an attempt to maintain control. Because they don't know how to be if they aren't in control. Whether it's
I'm just keep thinking about the way that Ted was reacting to Dr. Sharon at first. I mean, talk about insecurity. That was like, so painful a couple times.
even Ted's little bit with his wife with the text message and like checking himself when he asked like late morning, you know, late night or early morning, whatever, and then having to be like, wait, nope, that's not my place. Let me pull back. You know, this sort of idea of like men having to manage their emotions and manage their shit separate from whoever else is around, whether it's other men, Nate and Ted, Ted and Beard, whatever. You are responsible for your own shit.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to just like own that.
Mm.
And it doesn't come easy to everybody. And we're seeing some of them really struggle with it. Yeah.
Mm. So that's
want
right.
Want to talk about Rebecca and Keely, who have a very nice, supportive,
First, I want to talk about Keely and Higgins because she goes to him to ask for advice about how to tell Rebecca, and he just does not know at all what she's feeling, and he's doing his best. He is trying so hard, but he is just wildly off base. And I will be honest. His assumption initially that she feels like she's betraying Rebecca, he frames it as akin to Greek tragedy, which I'm like, sir, I don't know why you needed to do this.
I love when she first tells him the news and he like shakes in excitement, his own jowls go back and forth. I really do love this man. I enjoy him so much. It's almost enough to make me want to watch Downton Abbey, but I'm not gonna. But I really do.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he's in that.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember what part he played because you told me this before. So when she finally says, I don't want Rebecca to think I'm not grateful. I'm like, okay, well then it is a little bit of a feeling like you're betraying her. That he wasn't wrong. It's just not as dramatic as he's making it. But that really fundamentally is what it kind of comes down to. She doesn't want Rebecca to feel like she's betraying her after having come so far because of Rebecca's help. Now she's just bailing. And he says, a good mentor wants you to move on. A great mentor knows you will. Ooh, I like that. Really? I just came up with that right now. Such a good moment.
It's really good.
So then we cut to her going in and being like, do you have a minute, to Rebecca, who says, of course. And then smash cut, crying, sobbing.
It's really sweet, though. They're like, Rebecca is so proud. And it's funny, too. Like, we don't talk about it much because it's like, I don't think it was part of the deal, but it wasn't like a big part of the deal. But they got this new sponsor after the Dubai Air thing blew up and the banter came in. That's a really big fucking deal.
Yeah.
A sponsor of a professional, sports team. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I appreciated it when I first watched it because, like, I don't care about that shit.
Agreed.
But then when we get to the end and we find out they're offering her, like, backing for her own shit, I was like, you know what? Yeah. Okay. That's a
And,
lot
like-
of money they threw at that team.
And like the fact, I when I stop and think about it, a dating app sponsoring a football team makes so much sense. Like it's such a good connection.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I, agree. I didn't really
Yeah.
like appreciate it fully
Yeah.
either.
And like I get that, Richmond is sort of relegated this season, so they're not as expensive. But that's still a lot of fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
You
You're getting
know?
it on the ground floor if you do it when they're not as expensive. And then when they
So-
blow up and they come back, you're already in, which is kind of great for you. So
So yeah, so
Mm.
this come up for Keely, I think is really well deserved and super exciting.
yeah.
And I love how supportive Rebecca was. She calls her best friend. And
She
tells
says,
Keely,
my advice for you as a boss, hire your best friend.
It's
Which,
so good.
as somebody who has hired my best friend, I cannot agree more.
Wait, you're talking about me, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I just assumed, and then I wanted to make sure.
Who the fuck else am I talking
That would
about?
have been really embarrassing for me.
Oh my god! What if I was like, no? Oh,
Right,
I get why you'd think that.
I
It'd
mean,
be
there's
so
other people.
awful.
There's other people you record with. It doesn't necessarily have to be me.
You dink. And I'm just like, now I'm thinking, oh, hi, Erica. Now I'm just thinking about like if you came to me and you were like, I've really loved working with you on Unspoiled.
Oh my
I'm starting my own
God.
podcast. Oh God, I would be
You want me to
devastated. Like
start-
I'd be so happy for you.
You want
but
me to start my own
oh
podcast,
yeah,
though.
I really do. Like you should.
I'm
You're
not going
dumb
to,
for
though.
not doing it.
Don't worry
but
about it. It's not gonna
it's fine. I just like, yeah, I really get Rebecca's feelings here. It was Erica just wrote no, she, and I'm like, where? And then I was making
a joke.
I accidentally hit enter. Oh, I'm sorry, Erica. I hate when that happens. The one I hate the most is when I make a really good joke and send it in text, but it had a typo and it fucks the whole joke up. The worst.
I hate that.
RoShawn had
like-
one the other day. She kept trying to correct herself, and it just kept.
It was growing. The typo was morphing and growing and having babies.
It was. It
so
went on for like
bad.
much longer than it should.
And it was like one letter. It was like one letter
Yep.
at the end of the word. That's all it was. Oh, it was ridiculous. But yeah, so this whole bit with just how supportive Rebecca is, and it reminded me how when they are first introduced and you think they're going to be adversaries, it's going to be like, oh, she doesn't respect her, and this younger woman is just a groupie, and then it turns into this fabulous friendship
Yeah.
that we get to enjoy for 2 seasons. It was so great.
Yep. Yeah. I'm really excited for Keely and very curious what things are going to look like for the show with her and Roy being apart and her not working for the team anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be kind of tricky. And and also Nate not working for the team anymore. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's going in separate directions. And what is that going to look like?
Curious. I mean, we'll have like Nate and Beard and Roy.
Mhm.
Keely
Not-
will still be
Not Nate.
Oh, I'm sorry, Beard, Ted, and Roy. But Keely will still be around, but she won't be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
We'll still have Rebecca Higgins.
Mm-hmm. Roy is going to
So-
be on vacation though for a while.
Well, this is the summer.
I don't-
This is like the end of the season, so this is like.
oh, so he'll be
summertime.
back by the time.
And then when the
okay.
season starts, he'll be back to work.
Gotcha. Okay. He mentions too about how it's the first vacation he'll get to take where he didn't have to stay in shape and how excited he is for that. And I was like, that never really occurred to me, but wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a big deal. Like
Mhm.
just being able to no, I don't have to get up and go to the gym first thing every day. Wild.
Do you think he'll go on his vacation by himself?
I hope he does.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be amazing. He's got 2 tickets. What if he brought somebody? Who's he going to bring?
What if he brings Jamie?
No. Absolutely not happening.
It could be like a buddy cop movie. They can just have adventures.
I was thinking like he could invite Ted because he likes Ted.
Oh my God. Can we talk about how excited they all get when he asks for the diamond dogs?
Oh my God.
Then...
And he's like, no, I just want to like be around while it happens. And at the end, so sometimes we just like chat about shit and nothing changes. Yeah, sometimes. That's cool.
And they get so excited.
I love it. Ted just goes and looks at Beard, who goes, "Oh my God." And they just both fist pump wildly. Which is, I think, what he said when he like has the conversation with Rebecca about girl talk. Yeah,
exactly. It's a kind of a throwback to that. It's fantastic. I love it so much. I love how excited Roy is too when he's just like, "Oh, this is pretty cool."
Yeah,
because it could have like gone. It would have been very easy for him to be like, "Oh, this is bullshit," but to have him be like, "Oh yeah, this was all right." Talking about our feelings is okay.
Our feelings.
What feeling?
Our feeling. I really do think it's funny how, girl talk is just like, oh yeah, we're just going to talk. But they're like, we must now assemble the diamond dogs with our signal. Like they have to make it so fucking like.
Fucking Nate just goes woof. In this moment.
I did, yes. Yep. Fuck you, Nate. You're a diamond bitch. That's too nice. That's actually sounds kind of badass. I take it back.
Do you think he doesn't deserve?
No, that sounds cool.
I hate how like sympathetic I am with Nate, and also how much I hate Nate.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what happens when you see people who do things that you get why they're doing it. Is you fucking have contempt because you get it, and it makes you hate them more. And it's fucked up. Our brains. Why? Like we could reach out to people like this and be like, bro, you don't have to be like doing this. But do we? No. We go, okay, I need to avoid this person because I can't fucking handle it. I just can't do it.
When he's like wiping his eyes when he's talking to Ted and he's like so angry and so hurt and he's like crying. Big hug. I just want to like big bear hug. It doesn't have to be like this. We can figure it out. This shit that you're doing isn't even really you. It doesn't feel like you. It feels like you're performing what you think manhood is. It's not really you.
I like that.
But I'm just a guy watching TV, and I couldn't hug him. I couldn't stop it, and it all fucking went to shit. But yeah, it just like it feels like he doesn't know what it is. And so he thinks this is what being a man is. This is what being powerful is. This is what being in charge is. And it's not, dude. It's not.
I keep thinking about, like, the scene where they're doing the practice for the dance, the NSYNC dance. And, like, what was he feeling throughout this? We don't really get a good look at him in that scene because he would have just brought the whole mood down, and we didn't want that in that scene, so that's fine. But, like, they do the dance. There's a long pause. Beard says, "That's the one. That was it." And they start cheering like they just won the World Cup. They're ripping their shirts off and whirling them in the air, like jumping on each other. And like, Nate, you're surrounded by dudes who are enjoying themselves. Why don't you feel like you can be part of that? It's like he feels like he can't, like that's not allowed. Anyway,
I guess the last thing I'll say about Nate, sorry for buzzwords or whatever, but when we talk about toxic masculinity, and I know people are tired of hearing us talk about it, but we're going to talk about it.
If they're tired, they're listening to the wrong fucking show, so that's their problem. It's
toxic to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who have to be around you, and to yourself, if that's what you were living in.
That's what makes it so hilarious when women are blamed for it, because it's like, y'all did this shit to yourselves. You didn't want this.
You were also suffering.
It's feminism that's doing it. No, man. What are you even talking about? We don't care.
It's so sad. And I'm not even... Sorry, I almost got distracted by a whole other thing that was on the Facebook the other day. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a problem,
Just
y'all.
give me like a little hint.
It was so fucking what's the show? Rick and Morty?
Right. Never saw it, but yes.
I don't watch it either. Creator, felony domestic violence charge.
Ooh, shit. Yikes.
So it showed up on my feed. I go into comments. Everybody is talking
First
about
mistake.
Exactly. Couldn't be him. It's probably they had read that he was going through a divorce, and it's probably just his ex-wife trying to get leverage. There was a bunch of people talking about how it was probably an ex-girlfriend who realized he has money now, and she's just trying to get a payday. Because none of them clicked on the article. The article, the woman is not his ex-wife. It's not his wife. It's not an ex-girlfriend. It was a woman he went out on a date with a couple times.
Yikes.
But they don't care about that. And it
No, even if it was, that's even more reason. Oh, she's just some girl who probably trapped him because she saw him on a dating app and knew he was rich.
Yep.
There's never, there's always...
And the thing is, I'm not going to get into a whole thing about the show, but... running into people who like it in the wild was never pleasant. And then seeing that headline, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my energy about it. It's just, look, it's probably lots of it isn't terrible, but I haven't had it. The PR for it is quite bad. Terrible. And I'm just kind of turned off by it all. So it's that's going to happen sometimes.
It is, no good.
So there's up earlier in the chat, Chris said, questions for next season. Will Edwin be back or are we done with him? And Rupert and Nate are the main villains. Will we get any FaceTime with Nate's team or will they mostly be nameless and faceless drones? I don't expect Edwin to be back. I hope he's not because I really don't see how we handle that in this show. Yeah. If he's out here literally trying to ruin Sam's life, I'm not interested.
Yeah. I don't think so. And the league that Edwin's team would play in, they wouldn't be playing any of our Richmond teams. They would only meet later on a more international scale, So
in terms of players on Nate's team, I feel like we'll see some and they will be humanized because the show can do that in several sentences. I don't think we're going to get to know any of them that well, but I don't know, maybe we will. I think that because it's about Nate's insecurity and his behavior with people and the way he interprets comments, we have to see the players and the way they behave with him in order to get a sense of what's the energy in the locker room and on the field. We saw the energy on the field, which is basically don't talk to me.
Yeah. I think we'll see more of Rupert and Nate's interactions than we might Nate and team guys.
That makes sense. So I'm just, this is just, like I said, there's such highs in this episode and then there are such low lows, it's such a bummer.
Our team gets, they get out of relegation. We have the thing with Jamie getting the penalty kick at the end to be the tying goal. And he gives it to Danny Rojas to kick.
I forgot we didn't mention that, yeah.
Hasn't done a penalty kick since the unfortunate incident with Earl in the season opener. We also got some puppies.
You guys.
How cute were those puppies? One is named Tina Fayhound. What was the other one?
Macy Greyhound.
Macy Greyhound and Tina Fayhound. Yeah. When he gives Danny the ball and Danny puts it down, he looks over at the new puppy that they selected who's wearing a little helmet. Little hat.
I could not stand it, you guys.
Very, very cute. I'm not my in-laws, my mother and father-in-law, they're next door neighbors. They have greyhounds.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some fucking relentless ass motherfuckers.
Relentless how?
They never shut up.
Oh, they're loud. Yeah, that's no good.
Loud. But also they are like kept in a yard, and my understanding is, those type of dogs need to like stretch their legs and be out in the streets. So that's probably why they're so loud,
cooped up.
But yeah, that little puppy dog and his little beret is super, super cute.
It's not a beret. It's a helmet.
It's a helmet?
It's a helmet. Yeah.
Oh
To
my
protect
God,
him
because
from
no,
the
that's
accident
right.
that could happen. Yes.
You're right.
And Danny has R.I.P. Edwin, or not Edwin. What's his name? Earl on his like written on his shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked this moment. Like I could see. Stop it.
I'm sorry, but Erica's made a really good point.
Erica says, I just always felt that Edwin was there because he's friends with the creators and they just wanted him around for a few episodes. Might be. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I don't want him back, really. I don't want that energy around.
I mentioned it last time. If you guys get a chance to watch Champagne Ill, he's so good in that. Trigger warning for like a weird fat suit thing, but otherwise, very, very good show.
Gotcha.
Some shows can't help themselves.
But I could see some people eye rolling a little bit that Jamie hands over this kick to Danny.
Yeah, what did you think about this?
I feel like it feels like it's just a natural storytelling beat. We open with Danny having the yips and that horrible accident, and we had close with him victorious and managing to get them out of relegation. Like, that makes sense. And we want there to be character growth for Jamie, so him consciously choosing to let somebody else take the kick when he has been nailing them all season.
Yep.
It's like meant to be what a big moment for him. But honestly, like logically in this moment,
it's a real gamble.
It's not feeling like a good move. Like if I were a regular ass coach and not a Ted Lasso believe coach, I'm going, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
Like,
I love the announcers just being like, basically, what are you fucking doing? The only thing, and again, this is when the show is being like, we're gonna grab you by the fucking shoulders and shake you and make you like, tell us it's okay that we're doing this. We know that there was that moment in the first season where Danny and Jamie have that sort of like play where they are kicking at the goal. So we know that Jamie knows how good Danny is.
Sure.
Even like
and he hasn't seemed to have the yips for a while. So, it really isn't like that. But it just feels like this is such an important shot.
It's such the very first time I watched this episode, I was like, does Jamie just not want to be held responsible for losing? Is this like
that's
him, like
I enjoy like I don't want to say that's because like I want him to grow and not that's not but that is a funny interpretation. I'm not mad at that.
I was like,
just to say like, he looks real noble, and instead he's like,
fuck this. Fuck I don't want any part of this.
If this were Nate he was handed the ball to, that's 100% how Nate would take it. Oh, really? Oh, I see. You want me to take the shot.
If I was Danny, I'd have been like, nah, you can have this ball back.
No, I'm good.
They didn't ask for me. I didn't get knocked over. I didn't get the penalty. That was you. But yeah, he makes the shot. Everybody celebrates. They've tied. Happy ending, we think.
And then he finds the believe sign ripped. I really want to know what the rest of the team thinks of this, because I know that Ted's not going to go out there and be like, everyone look what Nate did to my sign. Like, of course he's not, but they know they're going to know that he quit. And they had, like, exactly. What are they telling everyone?
When Ted has this whole thing with the team and he apologizes for not being honest about the panic attack and blah, 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 blah. And the team is like, we're going to find the source and fuck him up. and the camera goes to Nate. Nate is just like on his head down.
Sweating.
Ted is like, no. We're going to nip that in the bud. That's not what we're doing.
Nip that in the butt.
Did I make the same mistake Ted made?
No, you said it right. I just I corrected you to the wrong way.
Oh.
Also, I'm glad you brought that moment up, because he's talking about like making bad decisions and he's clearly laying it on very thick, in my opinion, not only because he feels a way about his own choice, but he's trying to influence Nate to come to him. And I really appreciate that this does not seem to work in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
This is just that's like a really lazy way to write something like this, where someone just suddenly has a realization.
Yep.
The way Nate's been behaving is way too toxic for him to have a realization from one inspirational speech from a man that he's already angry at. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I'm so glad the show didn't like cheap out, you know, and have him like come like, oh my God, Ted, I can't, you know what I mean? I'm really, really glad the show made it, because when we have Beard and Ted talking about it the night before in the pub, and Ted is like, oh no, he needs to come to me, and Beard's like, no.
Yeah.
Ted is just so reluctant to force this thing. He doesn't want to go to Nate and be like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Which, that's some Ted shit. Like, why?
It's a really interesting thing, too, because Nate's admitting, I did everything to try and get your attention. So it really does feel like he's like, even this, you haven't confronted me.
Yep.
Like, does Nate know Ted knows? And it's just been like, are you going to do anything?
That's a really good question. Because it never comes up about the article. That's a really good question. Does Nate? I feel like, I'm sorry.
This is classic, like, kid acting out because he wants attention from his parent kind of behavior.
Yeah. How often does the parent know? I don't know. I wasn't a kid that acted out, and I don't have any kids. Is the parent like often aware that the kid is acting out, or are parents? My parents were kind of clueless. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, same.
I mean,
my dad was very much like drill sergeant type, and my mom was a child when she had me, so she was so young. Every time anything came up, it was just like, who knows?
It's all a surprise. Yeah, I'm not in the best place either. I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know. It feels like he's really kind of like gave him the finger in a way that he kind of wanted to get caught. And even then, Ted didn't give him anything. And so he's just like, seriously, what the fuck is it going to take? Which is
when he says, you don't even have the picture that I gave you, which we all, as the audience.
What is this?
We know the picture is at home in Ted's apartment. But Nate doesn't know that.
But he says you have a picture of dumb Americans. What is he talking about with that? I don't know what he's referencing there.
I don't know if anybody in the chat would know. Is it like just a team, like the hockey team that won the gold, or some other kind of thing that Ted has referenced? I don't know exactly the picture he's talking about either.
Okay.
But the picture he's looking for is the one where he's like in his arms and he gave it and wrote over Beard's face.
And signed right over Beard. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know Ted took that home, but Nate doesn't know it. So Nate is just like, you don't even have the picture out anymore.
Sir. It's just a perfect example for you literally don't see the whole picture. Like, you just don't see it.
It's also something that if you would just have a fucking conversation about, could be so easily cleared up.
Yep.
You know? You should just fucking talk about it. But we don't like to talk about shit.
I forgot to mention the moment where he's getting angry that Roy isn't threatened by him and says you're supposed to headbutt me, and
yeah,
says,
that's right.
I'll gladly headbutt you, Nate, with this fucking dangerous sound to his voice.
He really fucking meant it. He's like, just somebody's giving me the okay to do it. It's well past time. So, okay, we got like 6 minutes left. I know, I'm sorry, there's a lot happening.
I don't hear anything, so you keep turning around. I don't even know what it's not showing up in the mic.
There's a pack of teenagers out there because it's Friday night.
Boo.
So,
stop putting your hand over your mouth.
Sorry. Hopes for next
you keep doing it.
Hopes for next season, real quick. We're going to see Nate running West Ham.
I want Nate to go to fucking therapy. That's my hope for next season, is that Nate goes to
Dr.
therapy.
Sharon was there all season. He could have been went to therapy. Where was his ass at?
Somebody needs to grab him by the hair and drag him by his gray hairs.
See how gray that motherfucker was this episode?
So gray now. He just looked like somebody had dunked his head in some talcum powder.
Now it's like he stopped dyeing it black to, he's just dyeing it gray at this point.
Right. I'm trying to think about like Rebecca and Sam, because he chooses to stay, obviously. I don't love the whole thing with them, though. So I'm just so conflicted about where I want that to go, because it's such a power imbalance. And I love the two of them together and they have amazing chemistry, but it feels weird.
Does
it to me, yeah. It's like, it feels weird both because of the just practical fact that she is his boss, but also optics are going to be brutal. And I don't know what neither of them has been through that particular kind of like grilling from the press before. She has been through a lot with her divorce and relationship with Rupert.
Right.
But, she was like the wronged party. Yeah. And there's a certain amount of like, sort of, I don't know. I feel like coming out in this, she's going to be looking like the one who's exploiting him and abusing her power.
She was the wrong party in her marriage with Rupert, but she came out in the press as the villain or the victim most of the time. Like, she was poor Rebecca, old Rebecca. Rupert is out with another cute, young, hot piece of ass. And, we don't know what it was like when she first got with Rupert, but I imagine, because Rupert seems like he's significantly older than her, right? He's like 70 something, and she's like in her like.
Is he 70 something?
I think he's supposed to be pretty old, maybe like 60s, but fairly old.
Okay.
Just with that fucking. What is she? Pregnant? You'll just be a pile of dust with a black car. You're having a baby. But anyway, so I imagine that Rebecca had a period in the press where she was like beautiful and young and like an ingenue, and this man picked her up, and then she leaves him and she's in her 40s, and now she's like washed up, and he's got this cute young new Rebecca. But with her and Sam, there's an age difference about 20 years, right? Sam says he's like 21, I think, when they were
21. Yeah. He's like less than half her age.
Yeah. It's a significant age difference, which is always weird when it's men, but they get sort of a pass. She's his boss. She is wildly rich, between owning the team and being Rupert's ex-wife. Sam is like got a TV in his fridge, according to all the guys on the field.
My God.
Which is pretty fancy. But nowhere near her like level, right?
Right, yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, like being a victim or like sort of in the press, everybody being like, "Oh, she's poor Rebecca, she's pitiful." There's a certain amount of just kind of like dismissing her there that I feel like is lucky in some ways. But then she comes out as dating somebody less than half her age who is her subordinate. And now she's a man eater. She's,
that's the thing. Like, I'm really curious, like how that would go. Like, would it be like, oh, good for her. She's, getting it in with some cute little young guy. But they can be so unfair to women. It's not balanced. It's not like how they treat when men get a younger woman. It's not the same. So
I wouldn't be surprised because, like I said, that I was worried she was going to use him to try and one up Rupert at the funeral. If people didn't interpret that whole relationship as her trying to one up Rupert, that she doesn't even like care about Sam or like Sam. It's just about how she's getting with somebody young and hot in order to give Rupert the finger, and kind of the thing about that is Rupert is the type of figure that everything revolves around him in the press all the time. So
That's
they
a
would
good
find a
point.
way to make it about him, even when it fucking doesn't. He's not on her mind in that respect anymore, you know?
That's actually a very good point.
But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rebecca tries to stick it to Rupert by dating a younger man. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It fucking sucks sometimes.
And Sam says, I wish I could say I'm staying because of my feelings for you. And he's looking at Ted the whole time, and it's so strange. But I'm staying here because it's what's right for me and my journey. And I really appreciate that. Like, when Sam's talking to his dad about making the decision, his dad is like, you have to stop thinking so much and just let the answer come to you.
I
Which
love
is,
that.
as an overthinker, terrible advice. Like, what do you want me to do? Just turn my brain off? But it's true, you know?
Right as he's walking by the field and there's some kids playing and there's a young man wearing an Obasanya shirt, jersey, and he also has Dubai Air masked out in the tape.
Yes.
Front, which is like I feel like it's even more important than he's wearing
Very
Steve's
much.
jersey, right?
Oh, and we didn't mention that Sam's going to open a restaurant.
Oh, that's
a Nigerian
right.
restaurant.
Yeah, he's inspired by the fucking fake restaurant that Edwin said he took him to. That he really wants to open a real one. Yeah. All right. Well, we only got like a minute left. So.
Yeah. I don't have any new patrons this week, so I have nobody to greet because nobody likes me. So.
Everybody loves you.
No, they hate me. It's fine.
Eggs is $8 a carton.
Yo, don't get me started on the eggs, man.
can't
It is
fucking
ridiculous. Everybody, if you want some other really amazing stuff, come and follow me and RoShawn as we begin covering Ray Bearer.
I'm so my book came today.
Yes, good. I was going to ask you. It is so good, you guys. I've been like going through some like summaries, and there are things that I had forgotten. I'm like, oh, right. That was so cool. So I'm really, really excited to cover Ray Bender. And I'm just really excited to get into a phase where we can just cover stuff for the fun. So yeah, we picked this for the fun because RoShawn loves it, and it worked out quite well, except for the third season. But we'll get it eventually. We'll get it eventually. We love you all very much.
We do. Thank you for joining us on this adventure.
Yes. Thank you all so much. You were going to say something. I'm so...
It doesn't matter. We don't have time anyway.
We got 30 seconds left. Say it.
I got nothing. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm so glad you watched it. I'm glad that you liked it because you know I love this show. I love it so much. I love this show so fucking much. I wasn't sure how you were going to feel about it, so I'm really, really glad you enjoyed it.
Same.
And I can't wait to do season 3. And oh my God, fucking watch The Circle so we can talk about it.
Guys, we're going to be covering The Circle for Unsober. So if you guys are fans of that, become a patron at the $20 level. We're also tomorrow talking about planning our own funerals.
Oh, we're going to have to change that. As right as the broadcast ended. Yeah. I've been having
all right. Well,
about
hold on.
dying.
Let me do a proper outro. So we're doing an episode about planning our own funeral. And I'm really excited about it because we have some people who have worked in the funerary industry who are going to be in the audience, giving us a little bit of an idea how much some things would cost, which will be really interesting. And we've got some wild funeral stories that some people have started to contribute, and I'm very excited about that too. Funerals and weddings bring out the side of people that
they really do.
It's really something.
They really do. I'm looking forward to it now. Okay. I wasn't before, but now I am because that should be fun.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We love you. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
No, my hands won't be tied down, and I will not lay them down, 'cause I can finally see the truth. So simple but so clear, accepting an ocean's depths were out of reach for me and you. If you're calling out for air, breathing in, you know I'll be there when you first begin.
Unspoiled Network podcast.